This week on Culture Q, RuPaul class back at drag dissenters.
Transgender athletes face more barriers.
And graduating students in Seattle show their pride. What is going on? It is Andy Lawani here.
And I'm Shar Jossell. This is Culture Q.
And here are some of the highlights from this week in queer culture.
If you didn't know, on Thursday, June 16th, Mama Ru went on the Late Late Show to talk to James Corden about a bill that would negatively affect drag shows in Texas. Just recently, Republican politician Brian Sladen from the Texas House has proposed a bill that would ban drag shows in the presence of minors in Texas.
People, it just came down to just basic morality and decency. And everyone should have a concern with the sexualization of our children.
And of course, RuPaul had something to say about the bill. This is a diversion tactic to take the narrative away from the gun debate into something else.
Y'all want to help your kids? Take away them guns. That will help your kids.
Ru went on to say, "You're born naked and the rest is drag. Everybody's in drag, child, please." And RuPaul isn't the only queen ready to step up for their art. A group of queens in New York are under attack for hosting a drag story hour, an activity that includes coloring and reading books about how it's okay to be different. In Chicago, a similar event involved protesters harassing parents and calling the event demonic. In a San Francisco suburb, a group of men infiltrated a reading by Panda Dulce at the Alameda County Library's Drag Queen Story Hour by shouting homophobic and transphobic slurs. Drag story times were created as a way to celebrate reading through the glamorous art of drag. San Francisco author Michelle T. founded Drag Queen Story Hour as a nonprofit in 2015. Chapters have opened all across the U.S. While the threats have increased, the fabulous queens aren't taking the harassment sitting down. The Alameda County Library has committed to host a Pride event every month for the rest of the year. Many of the protesters who are claiming to protect children are actually scaring and endangering them, far more than any performer in heels. While there are some drag acts that are illicit and risque, naturally, the events for children are often tailored to be kid-friendly. Like Malway, New Jersey queen Angel Laureano said, "Drag is to make people feel happy. It's to entertain, it's to make people smile."
In partnership with the Tom of Finland Foundation, Diesel has curated an exclusive collection that celebrates the pride we have for LGBTQ artists. This pride goes deeper than just immaculately designed unisex pieces. Its social connection features exploration and depictions of the Tom of Finland's Foundation's erotic and LGBTQ art collection. Pieces from the foundation are reinterpreted as prints and graphic motifs with designs from 7 different creators. These artists include Sylvia Prada, Florian Hetz, Polanka, Peter Berlin, Michael Kerwin, Tank, and Heather Benjamin. The depiction of this art stands to celebrate and promote tolerance not only towards queerness and sexuality, but the art that depicts us so beautifully. The collection is available worldwide, now at diesel.com and in Diesel boutiques. And the collection isn't the only thing Diesel has up their sleeve. Diesel will serve as the official sponsors of the collaboration between the Tom of Finland Foundation and the community to curate All Together, a group exhibition that presents Tom of Finland's permanent collection to the public for the first time outside of Los Angeles. This exhibition is made possible by the foundation's efforts in preserving the work of queer artists, many of whom have faced discrimination and misrepresentation due to the nature of what they create. We even got to see many of the talented artists wear the collection at the Revry and Diesel party held earlier this month in Los Angeles. All Together acknowledges the profound social and cultural impact that Tom's Foundation has made in providing an open, unique space of freedom and love for its community of artists. Head to diesel.com to check out the full collection now. For this week on Culture Q, we got the chance to sit down with everyone's favorite gay scientist, Rob Anderson. Take a look at this very fun interview.
This is Gay Science. In today's episode, why do gays all own a shirt like this? The shirt. The retro button-up that's giving Bottom Lebowski, or West Side Story, but homosexual and British.
Obviously, you have a lot of videos online at the moment. Your videos you're known for are a lot about gay science. What has gay science been like lately for you, and what was the original idea for that?
Yeah, I wanted to, first I was looking up like 2 years ago, if there was a real reason why gay men liked iced coffee. Like, is there an actual science behind why gay men prefer it over hot coffee, generally as a stereotype. And I couldn't find any real science for it, so I decided to make some up myself. And I am not a scientist. So that ended up being what that was, which was satire, parody, fake science about that. And then I kind of rolled with it and kept trying to come up with real reasons as to why gay stereotypes exist. But through the video, kind of like empowering gay men, taking things like, why do we run the way we do or walk the way we do? Why do we talk the way we do? And make it a more empowering thing. It's because we're better. Queer people are just better genetically, and that's what the message is usually on these videos. And right now I have them as longer videos, 4 to 5 minutes on YouTube that are produced with a little bit of a higher quality.
I love to hear the potential science and backed, research of these, so I as a consumer will be looking out for them. Thank you for your service.
A lot of these topics in these episodes are things that have existed on the internet for at least a couple of years. And then once it's like a solidified thing that's a stereotype that exists, that's when it's really fun to play with the videos.
I also wanted to point out that you were recently on the Book of Queer on Discovery Plus. How did that happen?
Eric Cervini, who is the producer on that show, one of the producers, had messaged me and said like, hey, we have the show going. Do you want to be in it? And I was like, oh yeah. He told me what it was. And I was like, oh, that sounds really fun. And it was a really fun shooting day. The show is about queer stories that are true from history. And I didn't know any of them. I really didn't know. We aren't taught this in school, really, and we should be, at least not like high school or public school. And I learned a lot, and I had a lot of fun shooting. I did a lot of improv in it too, which they kept for the show.
I also am interested to hear if you're going to be starting your own like gay education program from like some of the videos that you've already made. Like here's a gay, now that it's what I call science, like volume 6.
Great question. I toy with like making videos that are pure nonsense. Like there is no point to them. It's just me having fun and doing whatever I want. And then I make ones that are purely informational, that aren't necessarily always gay or queer, but they're just me telling a story that's true. And so I'm trying to find like, and people sometimes get confused because they don't really know which one I'm doing or if it's somewhere in the middle, which is kind of fun for me to like see how people's reactions to things. But I think I'm trying to find like where my sweet spot is between both, because I really do like both. And then once I do, I'd love to do something like that. I'm just trying to find like my exact like composition of real and nonsense.
Nice. And obviously we're not through with the month of Pride. What is left on your Pride Month agenda at this time?
I just really want to, I lived in New York for 5 years before I moved here to LA like a year ago. And I just want to see my friends. I miss them. I love all of the events with them. I just love New York, and I don't have any specific thing. I just like to be around my friends and hang out and dance to disco music.
And of course, thank you so much, Rob. Check out the Book of Queer on Discovery Plus. And if you want to check out more of his videos, check out Rob on TikTok at HeartThrobert.
One of Chicago's best-known trans advocates and activists, Mama Gloria Allen, passed away at the age of 76. The subject of the GLAAD Award-nominated documentary, Mama Gloria, passed on Monday, June 13th. In a statement issued by the documentary director, Lucina Fisher, it was reported that Mama Gloria, Black icon and neighborhood staple, died peacefully while asleep in her LGBTQ senior residence home. Mama Gloria came out in the 1950s and did so with strength due to support from her mother and her grandmother. Her mother was a showgirl and former Jet magazine centerfold. Her grandmother, Mildred, was a seamstress for cross-dressers, as they were called at the time. Mama Gloria says of her journey, "I walked with my head up high due to my family."
My mother and my grandmother were supportive of me.
Mama Gloria worked as a nurse, but spent most of her time as a hard worker for transgender equality and freedom. The documentary about her showcased the intersection of race and gender based on oppression and showed how trans people can thrive when they are loved and supported by their families. Allen said of her work, "I want the world to know I have a life and I have a right to be here on this planet. I'm happy to tell my story. Rest in power, Mama Gloria."
And I thank God for the transgender people because we are a blessing.
Though Mama Gloria has passed, there are folks more than ready to pick up her cause, and they are needed with the rise in action against the transgender community around the world. World Swimming has placed a ban on transgender women who want to compete in women's events effective Monday, June 20th. The policy was proposed by FINA and would only permit swimmers who transition before the age of 12 to compete in women's events. The organization also proposed an open competition category, though details were unclear about what that would look like. The policy is said to stem from when most people go through puberty. James Pierce, who is the spokesman for the CEO of FINA, said, "Scientists are saying that if you transition after the start of puberty, you have an advantage, which is unfair." Basically, what they are saying is that it is not feasible for people who have transitioned to compete without having an advantage. The International Olympic Committee has tried to urge shifting the focus from individual testosterone levels and instead calling for general evidence of performance advantage. Ann Lieberman of Athlete Ally, a nonprofit for LGBTQ athletes, had this to say about the matter. FINA's deeply discriminatory, harmful, unscientific policy is not in line with the IOC's framework on fairness, inclusion, and non-discrimination on the basis of gender identity and sex variations. She goes on to say that the eligibility criteria will police women's bodies and will be essentially not enforceable without serious privacy and human rights violations to the athlete. As you can see, there's still a lot of work to be done, but there's plenty of reminders that it's all worth it in the end. Dame Kelly Holmes, British Olympian, has come out at the age of 52 and she couldn't be happier. "Sometimes I cry with relief. The moment this comes out, I'm essentially getting rid of that fear." In 2004, Dame Kelly became the third woman in history to win the 800-meter and 1500-meter Olympic double while at the Athens Games. Now, 18 years later, she was nervous and excited about coming out. "I needed to do this now, for me. It was my decision. I'm nervous about saying it. I feel like I'm going to explode with excitement." This year marks 50 years since the UK's first Pride March, and Dame Kelly thought it would be a perfect moment. She remarked happily that she could finally breathe.
Every week we have some amazing titles to show off here at Revry, and here are some from this week's streaming guide we think you should check out. In another gay movie, Andy, Nico, Jared, and Griff are four gay high school seniors trying to lose their virginity. It's their graduation day, and their lesbian friend Muffler's having her graduation party. The next morning, the boys make the pact to have sex before the end of summer. Andy has his eye on the math teacher, Mr. Pakov. Nico searches the internet for a man. Jared falls for a rival baseball player, and Griff is deciding between his crush on Jared or his exercise teacher. With the Stonewall anniversary right around the corner, you should add this informative and inspiring doc to your watch list. New York City's Stonewall Inn is regarded by many as the site of gay and lesbian liberation, since it was at this bar that drag queens fought back against police June 27 through 28, 1969. This documentary uses extensive archival film, movie clips, and personal recollections to construct an audiovisual history of the gay community before the Stonewall riots. For these titles and so much more, you can stream them right now, right here on Revry.
What do you do when the university you attend enacts homophobic policies right as you're about to graduate? You give them something to remember you by. Students at Seattle Pacific University handed out rainbow pride flags as they received their diplomas from the school's interim president, Pete Menjares. The organized action was put together by the Associated Students of Seattle Pacific, better known as ASSP. Now, a representative had this to say about the demonstration. "All year, we've been working on LGBTQ stuff in protests and inclusion. At graduation, this is our final moment as students, even though we're going to continue to fight." SPU is a religious university that employs an employee lifestyle expectations policy. This bans cohabitation, extramarital sexual activity, and same-sex sexual activity for their full-time employees. Employees can be terminated if they are found in violation. During the graduation ceremony, 40 to 50 students held rainbow pride flags as they received their diplomas. Some declined to shake the president's hand, opting instead to give him the flag. It just goes to show how art can make a big statement, and that's a great way to show some pride this year. For Culture Q, I'm Shar Jossell.
And it's Annie Lawani signing off.
Thanks for hanging out with us this week.
And be sure to join us every Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern, live and always on demand, right here on Revry.